Here's something I'm curious about. I'm very curious about this, right? I'm a founding member of the Museum of the American Revolution. I agree with their decision to host diverse groups at that event. In fact, they do some amazing things for people who are becoming naturalized citizens. The museum is a wonderful part of the city of Philadelphia, one of the only wonderful parts of the city of Philadelphia anymore. But 7 historian groups attack the museum. One of those groups is the study of LGBTQIA plus in history. I want to ask every single member of that organization if they've ever read a book called The Struggle for the Breeches. I want to ask them that. And when they invariably say no, they haven't, I'm going to tell them to do so. Why? Because that book is a study of gender in Victorian England. And goddamned if it's an insane book that refutes almost everything those people want to push in the modern society. Yeah. Transgenderism was not a fucking thing 200 years ago. It wasn't a fucking thing 100 years ago. It's a fucking thing now. There are arguments that Pulaski was a woman. Find Pulaski's body, dig it up, because the skeleton will tell you whether or not Pulaski was a woman or not. All of the women who disguised themselves as men to fight in the revolution went back to being women after the revolution. They weren't trans. These groups that claim they know history aren't actually history groups. They're revisionist history groups. They want to rewrite the history to suit the way they view the world now. They don't care about the social, economic, or cultural aspects of the time that they judge. They only care that their judgment is valid now. And that if you don't agree with them and you challenge their beliefs, well, obviously you're a bigot, even if you're pointing out historic fact. So yeah. Fun. It's infuriating. It really is. I mean, I detest revisionist historians because they're not historians. They're fiction writers. They write historic fiction and pass it off as reality. They don't care whatsoever about historic fact. They just want to change the way you view that history. They want to change how that history is taught. Oh, then the reality isn't their concern. The reality is not their concern. It's what they can get out of changing historic fact. Everyone calls Washington a racist, right? Oh, he didn't free his slaves. Actually, when you look at the social, economic, and cultural reality of the time, Washington actually did free his slaves. He didn't have the power to free his wife's slaves because they were his wife's property. But let's not get into factual reality here. Let's just completely ignore the reality that at the time women did own property and, the men didn't have power over the wife's property. So, yeah, let's just continue to falsify that reality. Let's continue to say that somehow, some way, there was a transgender person fighting the revolution. We'll ignore the fact that there was a Chinese person, a bunch of Italians, Jews, Muslims, everything else. Pretty much every nation in the world that existed, someone was represented in the Continental Army. Let's ignore that fact. Let's just say that they were all racist white men who were fighting to control slavery. There is no possible way for the United States to continue. We're too large. We are divergent. We're divergent. Either you believe in the Constitution, you believe in the Republic, you believe in the founding principles of our nation, or you believe that democracy is the way we should be. If you believe democracy is the way we should be, I'd like you to leave the original 13. I'd like you to go the fuck west. Get the fuck out of the historic founding states of our nation, because you don't belong there. You don't. If you think that silencing other people because they refuse to believe your bullshit is a great idea, you don't belong in a nation that says everyone can voice every opinion they have. You don't. You're a despot. You're an authoritarian. You don't fucking belong here. You belong somewhere else, not in the United States. Oh no. Oh no. Our country has lost its way. It's lost its way. And frankly, at points like this in history, you know what happens? Either one side wins out or the other. Funny thing, every single dumbass who turns around and says, Loyalists were Americans too, well, I hate to tell you this, they weren't. And in fact, at the end of the Revolution, we deported the Loyalists. We took their property from them, we put them on boats, and we sent them to Nova Scotia to get them the fuck out of our nation, because they were a threat to our nation. Right now, our nation has produced its own threats, one of which has been in existence in our nation since the 1820s. But let's not talk about the anti-constitutionalist organization that's been operating in the United States for nearly 200 years. Let's not, because they're currently in power, and damned if they haven't gone above and beyond anything anyone ever thought was possible with the federal government and attacking political opponents with the federal government. Funny. But, you know, what could I possibly know? I'm obviously an uneducated idiot who holds to reality and factual history. History that is supported by primary documents. History supported by contemporary sources. That's a history that you revisionists really don't like. I gather that because, you know, factual history is the antithesis of your entire school of history. But, you know, what do I possibly know? But to have a bunch of history and, like, historic frickin' nonsense, man. Nonsense. The groups attacking the museum for hosting the Mothers for Liberty, they don't believe in anything that the museum actually tries to promote. They don't. These people don't care for open discussion. They don't care to hear opposing viewpoints. They don't. They want their way, and if you're not doing it their way, they will destroy you. Even though their way eventually destroys everybody who jumps on board. Poor Bud Light. Poor Bud Light. That brand is dead now. Why? Well, you know, they made a fucking stupid decision. They never apologized for it. They fucking doubled down. They tried to blame other people, and they continued with their bullshit. And what happened? Well, you know, Bud Light's dead. It's a dead brand. You can get it for fucking free now. And I'm not even shitting you. You can get Bud Light for free. You can go spend $15. They will send you that $15 back. It's not sales, that's giving shit away. Kind of like what the Democrats do with damn near everything in this country. They just give it. They give it, give it, give it. They've devalued everything. Our dollar, useless. Our dollar is worthless. Absolutely worthless. The rights of American citizens. They don't mean shit, because apparently the rights that we have are less than the rights of people who have broken the law to come here. The rights of violent criminals mean more to the Democrats than the rights of law-abiding citizens. So next time you hear somebody going, yeah, this group, they obviously don't know what they're doing, look into the group. What's the group trying to push? What's the group trying to say? Who is the group opposing? Because everybody going after the Mothers for Liberty, well, they're going after the people who have tried their best to uphold the founding principles of our nation. Because when the government tells you you've lost your rights, when the government doesn't have rights to take from you, because all of our rights supersede the government, well, you know, maybe the groups going against the people who are trying to defend your rights are the groups you shouldn't support. Maybe they're the groups you could turn around and be like, hey, maybe you guys should stop. But, you know, again, what do I know? I'm just a college-educated historian who's been working on a farm for 13 years. Never stopped reading history books, but, you know, obviously, I don't know what I'm talking about. And these shitheads who want to present revisionist history as reality, well, you know, they obviously do, because every time you ask them something, they just make up some more bullshit with no fucking evidence, nothing from the primary sources, nothing from the time period they're talking about, just what they feel today, and that's all that matters in their view of the world. So yeah, every single group attacking the museum, fuck yourself. Fuck yourselves. Take your bullshit non-history somewhere the fuck else. Get yourself out of the most important city in the United States from the foundation of the United States. Get out of there. Leave. Go somewhere the fuck else. Go across the river. Go to where the British controlled shit, because then you'll actually have more legitimacy in what you say. Go to fucking New York. Go there. Where it was always a fucking loyalist stronghold. How about that? Go to fucking New York and start your bullshit. But, you know, doesn't really matter what the reality of the situation is. All that really matters is how you feel. Okay, I feel like you guys are fucking stupid. You don't deserve any semblance of respect with your nonsense history, and, you know, frankly, your opinions are terrible, illogical, and unfounded in historic fact. Now remember, children, you must read Struggle for the Breaches, and then get back to me. Because I'm probably going to look at you and go, well, actually, no, you're not trans, you're just a fucking dandy. Holy crap. I've used a word from 200 years ago to describe somebody who's trying to explain themselves as something else now. Wow. And just because medical science has progressed to the point where you can take chemicals and put them into your body, doesn't make it true. All you've done is alter something. So, sorry. But I really don't give a shit what you think. And I really don't think you should have a voice to stand in the way of open debate. But you do, and you think you do, and you just don't give a shit. So, coming up on 200, and let's see, what's the math here? 247 years of independence. 247 years of independence. And the loudest voices in our nation want to squash that. So, we're doing good. We're doing good. Huzzah.